Welcome to the Wadadlivity Virtual Studio. I'm Stephanie, and in today's tutorial, we'll be going through the correct alignment for Chaturanga Dandasana, also known as low plank. So this is one of those poses that you see a lot, especially if you take vinyasa classes. Those are the classes that flow from up to down, especially through the sun salutation A and B sequence. So it's important that we get our alignment right so that we avoid any unnecessary injuries. Okay, if you have yoga blocks, great, grab 2 of them. If you don't have blocks, don't worry, grab something that's similar in height. You can grab books if you have them, or just anything to give you a guideline as to how low your shoulders should be going. Okay, so before I demonstrate with the blocks, we'll get started with our alignment on the mat. Okay, so bring your hands shoulder width. Okay, your shoulders should line up above your wrists. If you have carpal tunnel or sensitive wrists, please make fists. Place the flat part of your knuckle on the mat. Thumbs point forward, okay? Also, keep in mind when you're pressing down, you're not just pressing through the back of the wrist. You want to distribute the weight evenly through the palm of your hand, your knuckles, and your fingertips as well. So sometimes we claw the mat for dear life. Let the fingers relax. Okay, and then don't lift your fingers off the mat, because again, we want to protect the wrists as much as we can. All right, so ideally our Chaturanga Dandasana, we start in a plank position, heels back, low belly in. Okay, then you shift forward onto the tips of your toes, squeeze the elbows in next to your ribs so they don't go out wide like a regular push-up. Okay, you come all the way down, chest low. Okay, inhale, push up. Okay, heels back, knees down. Okay, so that's one of the ways we can go about it. Not everyone can manage that in the beginning. It was definitely tough for me starting out. Don't worry about it, practice makes perfect. Okay, so the key things to remember: don't let your elbows go out wide. The closer you can bring them in next to your ribs, the better. Okay, this is also possible on your knees, as I'll show you in a moment. Okay, so just as before, you're gonna shift forward slightly, bend the elbows, bring them in as close to your ribs as you can. And then you can bring your chest all the way down to the floor if you need to take a breather. But when you're coming up, again, don't let the elbows splay out. Okay, squeeze them in, press your palm into the mat, engage your core, push all the way up, lift your chest. Okay? All right, so if we're using the blocks as guidelines, sometimes what happens, and I am guilty of this too, is that we end up going a bit too low to the ground in Chaturanga. Okay? So the blocks just add as a marker to help us know how low the shoulders should go. All right, place your hands shoulder width, just like you did before. Okay, and you're gonna line up the blocks where your hands should be, so right in front of your fingers, okay? Extend the legs back. So again, you can do this on the knees. All right, squeeze the elbows in, the chest comes forward. Okay, and with the blocks here, this is as low as we're gonna go. Okay, so don't worry if your arms give way, the block is there to kind of help you. All right, press your palms into the mat, squeeze your elbows in, lift your chest, push up. So again, you're not just using your arm strength, you're also using your core to help lift you up. Okay, same thing if we take the knees off the mat. Okay, engage the core, deep breath in. Okay, shift forward onto the tips of your toes, squeeze your elbows in, shoulders touch the block, press up. Okay, press your heels back, then bring the knees down to the mat. Okay, place the tops of your feet on the mat, take child's pose for a breath, all right? You can keep your knees together for child's pose, or you can take your knees apart. If your knees are together, you might find it a little bit more difficult to take a full breath in. That's okay. All right, just focus on filling up with as much air as you can. And when you exhale, let all the breath out. Okay, so we'll stay here in child's pose for 3 breaths. And at the end of your 3rd exhale, slowly come up. Okay, so we're gonna try this all together, okay? So we'll keep the blocks where they are as our markers, or your books, whatever it is that you might have. Okay, we'll do 2 push-ups with the knees on the mat, and then 2 with the knees lifted. Again, if it's too much for you to have your knees lifted, don't worry about it. Keep your knees on the mat and focus on getting the elbows as close to the ribs as you can. Okay, let's start. Knees on the mat. Take a deep breath in, shift your hips forward. As you exhale, squeeze the elbows in next to the ribs, tops of the shoulders touch the blocks, press into the mat, push up. That's 1, inhale, exhale, slowly lower, and push up. 2. All right, here, if you're taking your knees up off the mat, lift them up now, press your heels back. Okay, we're starting from a high plank, inhale. Okay, as you exhale, shift forward onto the tips of the toes, squeeze the elbows in, come down, push up, and then heels back. 1 more time, we're almost there. Come forward to the tips of your toes, squeeze your elbows in, touch the blocks, push up, and then heels back. If you're shaking like me, you're feeling it, right? Deep breath in, exhale, knees come down. Press the tops of your feet into the mat. Press your hips back towards your heels and lay your head down for child's pose.